This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Here we go. Hey, Pashi.
Hey, Sufi.
I want to just start off because a lot of people have been reaching out on social media. You live in California. How have you been holding up?
I am embarrassed to say that when the fires started, I was skiing in Mammoth. So everyone was sort of in a real panic back here. And I was not unconcerned, but I was having a lovely sort of time in the mountains. But my wife had gone up to where a lot of her equestrian clients are. She's a trainer and a rider. And so she was there with her truck and trailer in case she needed to evacuate some horses. We had friends that had to evacuate their house and they came to our house because we weren't here. And then when I was about an hour away from home, we got an evacuation order for our house. So I pivoted and went to where she was, and the people who were in our house came out there as well. Everyone was set to come back last night. This is a while ago now. From when we're recording this intro, but I came back and then Mackenzie got the word that there was a new fire and she did indeed have to evacuate those horses. So it's been a lot. We're fine. Our things are fine, but we know plenty of people who've lost their homes and it's crazy. It's truly apocalyptic. And I've got a couple friends in particular, the stuff in the Palisades, is gnarly, but I haven't seen any sort of firsthand from a friend video from there, but I have from the Eaton fire, which is in Pasadena, Altadena, and you just can't imagine what it would have been like to be out there, and it's insane. So we're fine, but it's a bad scene, and I feel terrible for people who have lost things, and I know it'll be a bounce back, but it'll be a long bounce back. And I
have so much empathy because so many of the people we know who've been affected have young children. And obviously the most important thing is everybody is safe. But I can only imagine the trauma of being a young kid and maybe not having the perspective of how lucky you are just to be okay and safe and losing everything.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, one of Mackenzie's, this teenage girl who she's been teaching for a while, their house is gone, and at some point for her, it'll be a story about this awful thing that happened to her. But in this moment, it's just like it's everything, and I can't imagine how unmoored those people must feel, but.
We're on a text chain with our Boom Chicago friends, and these are a lot of people who live in Los Angeles. Most of them do, and it's amazing to live in New York City and just see how much you're all sharing information about alerts and evacuation orders, and how an hour later, when somebody packs up their whole family, the evacuation order is rescinded. And obviously, I'm not being critical. I think that it's been an incredible job by emergency services and certainly the fire department trying to keep people safe and informed. But it does, people have just been saying to us like how hard it is even to go to sleep because you just are waiting for that ding on your phone that tells you.
It's been, I feel like everyone in LA is pretty exhausted. And it's weird that some regular life stuff still goes on, but obviously it does. But I feel like everyone's playing catch up a bit. Like even at my building right now, someone cleared the roof yesterday. We're not in any immediate fire danger, but they, blew everything off the roof. And today we're going to clean it up in the courtyard just because you don't want a loose ember to set the roof on fire. And then, then we scramble. But I do personally, I feel like, things are things and things can go away. And if people get out and animals get out, then, that's enough to rebuild from, to have
and horses, Mackenzie's horses, safe and sound?
Safe and sound, yeah. They're horses. They're good. She moved 15 of them yesterday and to a new place, and she was like, "Yeah, they got food, and they are completely unfazed." But I drove when she had to evacuate the horses. She had the dogs, and I was like, "Let me drive, and I'll come get the dogs." Which I drove through, smoke pouring across the 101 freeway from the Kenneth fire. And bad traffic going up and worse traffic coming back. And, when I drove into this equestrian neighborhood, there were fire trucks there. There were so many trailers making their way out. And it's just, it's very unsettling and very unnerving. And they had a big fire up there in 2018. And so people have not so distant memories of, what can happen. And I feel like that's sort of a thing that's going to stick with a lot of these people, particularly from the Palisades and Pasadena, Altadena.
On the text chain with all our friends, most of who live in LA, I've shown some restraint because I have wanted to text the group, is no one going to say anything about how awful it is that I lost the Golden Globe for Best Stand-Up Special? Good restraint, right?
Yeah.
Now I want to also, this is, and again, I'm not just pointing people over to YouTube, but your face has something going on.
It does. Now I'm not a big fan of cosmetic surgery,
right?
I'll say.
Now, but by the way, so I want everybody right now, whatever they're picturing, it's not. Keep going.
So a couple years ago, I'm a fair-skinned gent living out here in LA. Pretty outdoorsy. I saw my dermatologist. He says, "Where are you from?" I said, "New Hampshire." He's like, "Where are you getting all this sun?" And I was like, "Well, I've lived in Los Angeles for 20 years, 22 years or something." And I had this spot of a squamous cell carcinoma on my nose, on the bridge of my nose, which is cancer, but it was, caught it early. I go see the dermatologist twice a year. And so
when they did the surgery, did it make you squamish?
I was a little squamish. Not as squamish as Mom would have been, but plenty squamish. So when I had that removed, the surgeon was like, look out in the waiting room of this place. It's all people older than you, and they've all got Band-Aids on their faces. And maybe you don't want to be one of them. So you should maybe get this laser that knocks out a lot of precancerous stuff. As a side effect, it will resurface your skin. And so I got this laser done yesterday, and it looks like a bad sunburn, and it's going to get a little leathery, and then it's going to peel off. But I've done this to try and prevent myself from getting cancer, but also I might look like a nice, fresh-faced young fella in about a week.
Two things I want to ask. One, do you think there's a chance, because this is Los Angeles, that doctor hires extras, old people extras, to sit in the waiting room with Band-Aids on their faces?
I mean, they are cheaper than you think, I bet.
Yeah.
Old people to sit in a waiting room with Band-Aids on their faces. So, yeah, it'd be a smart move.
I have a second thing, but now I'm doing a tangential thing, which is at the Golden Globes, seat fillers. If, people get up, seat fillers come and sit down. And there was a young woman sat next to me and leaned over, and she was like, "Can I tell you something?" And I would love to receive a compliment.
Sure.
I'm not immune to that. I was like, "What's that?" She was like, "I had your mom as a French teacher." Well, that was pretty nice. Pretty nice
great.
to be my second thing is this, Posh. You do have sort of a red face.
Yeah.
Right now, at a time when your city is on fire.
Yeah.
I think if there are heroes that walk on the earth right now, they are the Los Angeles Fire Department.
Yep.
And you kind of look like you maybe have been fighting a fire. Is this a case? Do you think you're going to be accused of stolen valor?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I did. I was walking the dogs this morning, and I saw one of my neighbors, and very quick. And I'm embarrassed to even say, I got a face laser. I got face laser. He's like, oh, I thought maybe you were like snowboarding. And I was like, oh, I was skiing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a better thing to say is I was skiing and then I came back. But if I was skiing and this happened to my face, then people would be like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you put in any sunscreen?
But I'm just warning you, like, don't do a second thing that makes it look like you're pretending to be a fireman. Like, don't like throw your hose over your shoulder and just go like trudging. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll keep hose. I'll keep my hose in the closet.
This was recorded before all of this happened. Today's conversation, but it is a delightful conversation with Ronny Chieng, and we talk about it during the interview. But I really highly recommend his new special on Netflix as well. It's really funny.
I watched it while I was wrapping Christmas presents, and it was a delight. What a good dude.
Pashi, I'm so happy you're safe. And I do want to just say one more time, if anyone's listening and they are living through this natural disaster, we send our love and we pray for your safety.
Yeah, pray for LA.
All right.
Family trips with the Meyers brothers.
Ronny.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, I'm okay. Morning.
It was so exciting when you first came on my show because I was thrilled to talk to somebody who had lived in Manchester, New Hampshire. and now Josh gets the same thrill.
I know. I couldn't believe
let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk. I'll save it for the podcast. But I can't believe you guys are doing a podcast this morning.
Yeah. Guess what, Ronny? The podcast has started. This is
it. This is the podcast.
We're not going to waste any of this gold right now. Yeah.
No. Don't hold back.
I'm glad our listeners can finally hear how impressed our guests are at how early we do it.
Where are you in the world right now? You're in New York, right?
I'm in New York.
Yeah.
I'm in New York right now. Yeah. I'm impressed at how early you guys are doing it. I'm impressed that you're doing it. I'm impressed that you guys maintain a great relationship as siblings. I'm impressed that you have to go to work after this. I mean, the whole thing is very impressive.
What is your sibling situation?
I have an older sister who is in Australia right now. She's like an anesthesiologist.
Okay.
So I imagine that means you don't see her often.
No, unfortunately, I don't get to see her that often. But she's a valuable, contributing, hardworking member of society. Not like over here just talking to microphones.
Right. You're making people happy. Entertaining. There's some value in that. At least that's what I tell myself.
But that is true that when people say to her, like, you probably don't see your brother much. She's like, not only that, he's adding nothing to society.
I'm probably taking away from society.
Yeah, maybe even that. It's attractive. You were born in Malaysia?
Yes.
And then how many years in Malaysia?
I was in Malaysia I left Malaysia when I was 2.5, and then actually no, closer to 3. I was 3 when I left, and then we went to the great Manchester, New Hampshire, and then I left Manchester, New Hampshire when I was 7 years old, and that is my family trip.
Yeah, there you go. That's a big family trip. You took a trip to where our family lived and had no idea.
Well, actually, I think about my family trip. It's interesting that you think that you're seeing my family trip as leaving Malaysia. My family trip was, my parents moved to Manchester, New Hampshire for college, but they went to college really late in life. So they had 2 kids and then they went to college. So they brought 2 kids to Manchester, New Hampshire, Manchester College, community college at the time, which has since merged with the University of Southern New Hampshire. So they put themselves through college while supporting 2 kids from Malaysia. And when they graduated with my mom with her MBA and my dad with his Masters of Economics. And they also did their undergraduate there. When they graduated, they told me and my sister, hey, we are going to go to Singapore for just a little bit of a vacation. And I was like, okay, so we're coming back, right? And they're like, yeah, we're coming back. And I was like, so I don't have to pack all these Ninja Turtles, right? And they're like, no, you don't have to pack any. We'll come back. You'll see the Ninja Turtles again. And then we went with them to Singapore. And it took me until like I was 30 years old before I could come back to America. I left when I was 7, and for like 23 years, I've been trying to come back to America. And that was the longest family trip I could think of.
And based on location, we might have been the ones who ended up with those Ninja Turtles, probably
Yeah.
at a garage sale.
Yeah, well, if you could help me find Michelangelo, that would be
Did
really good.
they know they weren't coming back, or were they just lying to you guys?
No, yeah, they knew. They lied. They straight up lied. They straight up lied to our faces that we would come back to Manchester, New Hampshire. And they knew because and looking back, there were all these clues that we weren't gonna come back, because they would make us watch like VCR cassette tapes about Singapore, and so we me and my sister, you know, she's 3 years older than me, so she was like, I guess she was 10 and I was 7, and we would be like, why are we watching these videos about what Singapore life is like? In a way, they were actually quite modern, right? To prepare your kids for what a country could be, you show them some video, right? Which I don't think people thought of doing back in the day. So in that sense, they're very modern. But in the sense of lying to their children, they were very old school, and not just telling us that we were moving. And I don't know, it just created this chip on my shoulder for like 20 years.
It also seems like the amount of time that you were in New Hampshire seems like it was exactly long enough for people to go to college and graduate. And as soon as they were done, they were like, all right, and we're out.
Yeah. I was there for 4 years, but my parents actually took my sister to New Hampshire like 2 years before me. So they kind of left me behind for like a year because I was just too small. It was just too difficult. And then I joined them when I was like three and a half years old. And so, the whole time in Manchester, New Hampshire, I was like, this place is great. I loved it. You know, the whole world is like 4 places. It was the park, Webster Elementary School, the library, and then on special occasions, we go to the back room, which I've since learned is called the Puritan back room. But I didn't know we never called it the Puritan back room. We just called it the back room. That was like our special place. And the whole world was like these 4 places, and it felt huge, you know. And Manchester, New Hampshire was the kind of place where you could, you didn't have to lock your car door, you know, and it would snow, that very iconic New England snow, and I don't know, it was like a dream. And then you get pulled into Singapore where people are yelling at you for not speaking Chinese, and then it was quite a family trip that 20 years.
Who did you stay with the year your parents and your sister were in New Hampshire?
Oh, we stayed at in a small apartment. But at
no,
the time
when they left you behind, who did you live with?
Oh, I lived with I was living with my grandmother and aunt in Malaysia when they went to Manchester. Yeah.
Do you have any memories of that, or were you just too young?
A little bit too young. I got some photos of it, but all the people I live with, I always stayed close family with. So it never felt like a memory. It just felt like a continuation of these family relationships. You know, my grandmother, my aunts, and all that. So
it wasn't like they left you with a weird dude, and you're like, "Yeah, I have some memories of this weird, weird guy." Yeah.
No, they didn't go that far with it. But
And how did you get used to Singapore pretty quickly?
No, that family trip was a rough trip. It was a rough trip. For all its benefits Singapore has, which is many, you know, Singapore is very advanced, first world country, very safe. It's kind of like the Wakanda of Asia. If you ever get a chance to go.
I've been.
Then you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But as a school kid there, the problem was not just culturally a completely different fit. Like imagine an American kid going to Singapore at 8 years old in the public school system, but also the language barrier was just like Chinese teachers are very old school and they don't take kindly to Chinese kids who cannot speak Chinese. So they would literally like beat it into me. You know, it was a brutal learning process to learn Chinese from scratch.
Yeah.
What did your parents speak at home when you were in Manchester? Were they speaking?
Yeah, they spoke English. They always spoke English. And it's weird. I mean, they're fluent in English, but only as an adult did I realize like they're not actually, I don't think they think in English. Or at least, you know, when they were in America, they were probably after 5-6 years and you're doing your master's in economics, you probably start thinking in English. But that's not their first language.
Right.
They were brought up in their own dialects, and so my wife always finds it very interesting that they only spoke English to me, my sister and I, because most immigrant parents, they speak the native language to their kids, and then the kid will answer in English. With my parents, it was always, they spoke to me in English and I answered in English, and it was just, and I didn't even think about it too much.
Do you think they didn't know they were going to take you to Singapore? Because I assume if you knew in advance you were going to go to Singapore, you might have thought to speak Chinese.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know. I actually, I should ask my mom why the hell did that happen. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe they were trying to be nice parents and not. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get us so that we could acclimatize to the U.S. schooling system quicker, without a language barrier. But they just didn't have the time to teach us Chinese formally because they were working and studying the whole time. So yeah. So I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah. What did you speak before you moved to the States? Forgive me, I don't know what the language of Malaysia is.
So I'm my ethnicity is Chinese, but my nationality is Malaysia, and so Malaysian. And so in Malaysia, they speak the Malay people usually speak Bahasa Melayu, Malay, and then the Chinese people will speak Chinese and various dialects like Cantonese, Hokkien, just Mandarin Chinese. So there's Indian people that will speak their mother tongue, Tamil or Hindi. But basically, to answer your question, I don't think I was speaking before I got to America. So when I got to America, I was already thinking in English. Like my first thoughts were in English. So I didn't really, the language thing never seeped in. For some reason.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. It's time to fuel your inner adventurer in the award-winning Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
Hey, Seth.
Yeah.
Tell me about your inner adventure. Are you a rocky trails guy or more of a snow roads bird?
I'm a snow roads bird. Like to go up my snow roads, maybe pull over at one point, pop off a couple snow angels back in the car, keep on rocking.
Yeah, I was going to say your snow angels are some of the nicest snow angels I've ever seen.
They look as though an angel fell from heaven and just splatted into the snow.
Yeah. One thing I will say, a note on snow angels.
Yeah.
You don't have to do them face down.
What? This is going to be a game changer. What about you, Posh? Rocky trails or snow roads bird?
Well, I mean, I'm a bit of both. I do love when you're in a vehicle that can handle some rocky terrain. I like driving slow and feeling a big old tire sort of creep over a rock and sort of waggle you back and forth. And that's the kind of feeling that you can get with some confidence in the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
And I would say a lack of confidence in the car we drove in high school, which was a Renault Le Car. And if it was even a little bit rainy, you wouldn't go outside.
Whatever kind of adventurer you are, the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is ready for you. Thanks to its intelligent around view monitoring with off-road mode, the Rogue Rock Creek helps brave adventurers like you and also Seth to navigate around narrow obstacles in tough terrain. So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent Around View Monitor cannot eliminate blind spots. It may not detect every object. Drivers should always turn and check surroundings before driving. See owner's manual for safety information. Support for Family Trips comes from Airbnb. Hi, Pashi.
Hi, Sufi. Airbnbs are exceptional. We've stayed in Airbnbs in Pittsburgh with the family, but also at my wedding, I know we've mentioned that it was at a hotel, but at the same time, we couldn't have everyone stay there, but there were all these fabulous Airbnbs in the area. And one thing that just warmed my heart to no end is I had a group of friends from New Hampshire, childhood friends, who came, and they all stayed in one Airbnb, and I was getting pictures throughout the weekend texted to me of them getting ready, of my friend Randy Suazo and his West High half shirt, which is just a classic thing in our childhood and from our youth. And to think that my marriage got that group of people to stay together for a weekend in an Airbnb, something they probably would never have done otherwise, just made me so happy, even though I never went there. And I know that they had just the best time. And that's the kind of experience you won't get if you're not in an Airbnb, because you get to have your meals together. You get to get up and you get to have your coffee together. You get to sit around in a living room together. And it was really special. And even as someone who wasn't there, it is one of my favorite things about my wedding.
Well, that's so lovely to hear. Book your next awesome trip today at Airbnb.com. Support comes from DeleteMe. Hey, Bashi.
Yes, Sufi.
I am aware of people in my life who have been doxxed.
Ugh.
Their information gets published, and those with ill intents get a hold of those addresses, get a hold of that contact information, and make their life deeply uncomfortable. That is why I personally use DeleteMe. DeleteMe is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. Posh, you're not a fan of data brokers.
I don't like to use the term hate, but I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them. They're just bad. There's no redeeming quality in data brokers.
You know what they hate? And
What's
they
that?
have no problem using the word? They hate DeleteMe.
Yeah.
Because DeleteMe isn't just a one-time service. DeleteMe is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, DeleteMe does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from the data broker websites.
DeleteMe isn't just a one-time service. DeleteMe is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet.
Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/trips and use promo code TRIPS at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/trips and enter code TRIPS at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/trips, code TRIPS.
Here we go.
When you were living in Singapore, if you went on vacation, where would you go? Would you go home and visit family?
Yeah. We go to Malaysia, but Malaysia and Singapore for me it's like New Jersey, Manhattan,
Got it.
because the part of Malaysia I live is just across the bridge from Singapore. So that's why when I say like I'm Malaysian and I lived in Singapore, for me, people think I'm like pandering. I'm trying to claim every single country, but it's like for if you're from Johor Bahru in Malaysia, that's like New Jersey. Like Singapore and Johor Bahru are like, it's just a bridge.
Yeah.
You go across and I go across. I used to when I was going to school in Singapore, I used to wake up in Malaysia and take the school bus to Singapore.
Okay.
And then go to school and go back to Malaysia. Yeah. So it took time. Like, I had to wake up at 4 a.m. But it wasn't like a huge deal. We didn't think too much about it.
So this podcast isn't that early. I used to wake up 4 a.m.
No. This is a very, very humane 10 a.m. call time.
I did in the late 90s, if I'm getting the time right, I performed at the Singapore Comedy Festival. And it was so exciting. It was is it the Raffles Hotel? Is that the?
Yeah.
And it for me was, I'm sure, something that you've experienced a great deal more than I have in my career as someone on stage. But it was the first time where I was in front of an audience that wasn't majority white. And it was really exciting. It's really fun when you can make people laugh that are a different culture.
Yeah, for sure. You guys, and I'm sure you killed it. Like who else was on the show?
It was a 2-person show that we had done at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So it was like a sketch improv show, but it was a blast. It was just the two of us.
No, who was it? Who?
Oh, her name's Jill Benjamin, but she's
cool.
my old comedy partner. But it was great.
Oh, yeah. No, I used to do Edinburgh as well. I did Edinburgh like 3 or 4. Yeah.
What was your first year of Edinburgh? Josh did it too.
My first year at Edinburgh was 2012. 2012. Yeah. And then I did 3 years, and it was if you've been to Edinburgh Fringe Festival, it's what a marathon.
Yeah. It's a marathon.
Yeah,
it's 20 a stand-up has to do probably 28 shows in a month.
Sure, yeah. And that's your own show. And then there's other spots around town you can do. And then you kind of have to flyer for yourself because otherwise no one's going to come.
Yeah.
So you have to be on the street like trying to get people to come in. And then you're in the artist bar like, drinking all night. And then it's like Groundhog Day.
Yes.
And you come out just extremely mentally and physically unfit.
And if you can barely make enough money to pay for your drinks.
Yeah, basically. No, but I'm always interested to talk to Americans who've been to Edinburgh. I mean, so Josh, you've been to Edinburgh.
Yeah,
What
I
year was
did
that?
3 years. I think you did 3 as well, didn't you?
like
Yeah.
like a prison sentence.
Yeah.
I did,
It was like
I did a
90
3-year
like
spot.
99 through 01, I want to say, or
Yeah.
98 to something like that.
We went
Overall-
because the best, loved
Yeah.
it. But we had a different experience because we did it through we were working at an improv theater in Amsterdam, so we like went over with
Yeah.
the troupe.
Yes,
And, you
yes,
know,
yes. Sorry
so-
to interrupt, but I did. I was in Amsterdam just 2 months ago doing a show, and I walked past.
Yeah,
the-
Boom Chicago.
Boom Chicago, and your
Yeah.
your face is prominently.
Oh yeah,
they definitely you should be suing someone over there because they definitely
No, they're dear
hyping up
friends. They're dear
they're
friends.
friends.
Yeah. Okay.
They gave us our start. Where did you perform when you were in Amsterdam?
Okay, I did this. I did this theater that was quite large, and we go into the theater, and the backstage is like a fake apartment. And so I just thought like, oh, maybe it's a quirky backstage, or maybe this was a musical like prop,
Yeah.
right? A prop for a musical. And I do 2 shows in Amsterdam. And then afterwards, as we're leaving, one of my agents tells me like, hey, this place is where they do the Anne Frank musical.
Oh
So-
wow.
So they built the set of the Anne Frank. The whole thing is like an Anne Frank musical thing. And I was like, wow, I can't believe we just did comedy in this
Yeah.
thing. And they only do the Anne Frank musical in this venue. I can't remember the name. It's not called the Anne Frank Theater, but
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It might as well be because that's the only show they do.
They had
so.
a hard time selling tickets for comedy night at the end.
Yeah.
I can't believe there's
Exactly,
an
I
Anne
know.
Frank musical.
Yeah.
I know it's a play or a musical, and it's like I don't know to be honest, I don't know if it's still going, but it definitely was big. And I think the problem was that it was such a big story that no one else could use that theater because the capacity was like no other musical or play could be put in there for some reason. So they had us in there, us like comics one after, a show doing shows, and it was like just trying to do these jokes in Anne Frank's house. Like,
The one other thing I want to say about how much I think you had it harder in Edinburgh than we did is stand-ups have to build an entirely new hour in a year if you want to go back to Amsterdam. And I'm sorry, if you want to go back to Edinburgh. But I do feel like that must have been a helpful tool as far as being a stand-up the rest of your career. If you managed to write 4 different hours in 4 years.
Oh yeah. But I mean, first of all, this is the constant battle between stand-ups and improvs, right? Or like vampires versus werewolves.
Yeah.
And we forget like we should be like this because our goal is to kill people. So like we shouldn't be talking about who's better or who has it harder. But everyone has it hard, you know. But I think I was trained because part of my family trip after leaving Manchester, New Hampshire was I went to Singapore. I was in Singapore for 10 years, and then I went to Australia for 10 years. Still on my family trip to go to college. And in Australia, that's where I started doing comedy. And the Australian comedy, the way we do comedy there is we do the 1 hour show. For better or for worse. A lot of people probably shouldn't be doing it at some early stage of their career, but we're just trained to think in terms of an hour every year.
Yeah.
So, it becomes a little bit self-indulgent, and a lot of stuff only works in the context of the show. But you write out an hour, and that was we took it as that's what you're supposed to do, and which is the Edinburgh model, right? You do an hour.
Yes. I do think it's easy if you start there. I do think it's easier to go the other direction, which is nice. That like later in your career, like it just must be. I don't know. It's like going to like a really intensive musical school where you learn everything, and then you
I mean, there's different things. Like we would go to the Australian guys, and we would go to JFL just for laughs and meet the American comics for the first time.
Yeah.
And we would be so in awe of everyone, and everyone would have that super tight 10 minutes.
Yes.
And that New York 10 minutes, people at JFL was just unstoppable. People would have these 10 minutes, but then we would later learn that, they've been doing that 10 minutes for like 6 years.
Yes.
And so, and I'm not even trying to take anything away from anyone. I'm just saying like it was someone's 6-year-old 10 minutes versus our,
brand new hour.
Brand new 10 minutes that we pulled out of an hour that isn't it. So we would always feel like we were on the back foot there. So I don't know which one is harder to do. I think they're both pretty hard, but I think there is something to say about work ethic and doing 1 hour and not being daunted by it and not being scared to, condense it down a bit. And I think people forget in Edinburgh. I mean, you guys know in Edinburgh how much shit is going on. Like the Edinburgh Fringe is the Fringe Festival. There's still at the same time there's the Edinburgh Festival proper,
right?
Which is ballet, opera, these traditional art forms, and the Fringe was like in response to that, which was like the magic and burlesque and comics and whatever dumb crap you could do live, like piercing your face in front of a crowd, and then the Fringe became too commercialized. So in response to that, they started the Edinburgh Free Fringe. So there was like 3 different festivals going on, and comedy was only this much of it. But comedy was like, it was like everywhere. But it was only this much of the Fringe Festival. The rest of it was like music. People brought like musicals. These kids would bring like 6 people musicals, and I remember watching these guys do a musical with like just 6 people, but it wasn't like tongue in cheek, they were doing it properly, like a proper musical. Just that they only had like 6 people, so someone was like playing the piano, and then other people were singing it. I think it was the Bill Clinton musical that I thought it was great. Yeah.
I saw. I confirmed it when he was on my show, but I saw Cillian Murphy in a 2-person play in like 1999 called Disco Pigs. And and slowly over his career, I was like, I know I've seen this guy before. And it was so rewarding to go into the dressing room and be like, Disco Pigs? He's like, get out.
Oh, wow. But then the question becomes, if you guys liked it so much, and why didn't you guys go back?
I mean, we have dreams of going back, but then Seth has this theory that is fair, I think.
Which is
that you'll never be 20 again at the Fringe.
Yeah.
Like we're older now, and sort of to be there and hitting the streets and flyering, like at 20, at 21, there was something that was like we had that energy. And now if you were out there and if you had to flyer and you were like, oh, do I really? And people would be like, yeah, you do. And it'd be like, well, then I hate this. Then I don't want to do this. And like going out to the artist bar and drinking to all hours is just getting harder.
Yeah. Well, I guess I know. I mean, now obviously this is a bad idea, but I mean, what made you stop going? You went 3 years in a row.
I think that for me, I started on SNL, and then all of a sudden,
there you go. You got
and I will say, Ronnie, you'll appreciate this. Greatest summer of my life. Yes. I got cast on SNL in July to start in September, and I'd already booked Edinburgh. So I went to Edinburgh knowing I had SNL, and it was just, I think maybe the happiest month of my life.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what happened to me, because I was in Edinburgh when I got hired on The Daily Show.
Wow.
So same idea. It was like I was there, I did 2 weeks, and then I found out I got hired on The Daily Show. So the last 2 weeks of Fringe, I was like, oh, great. I mean, this is just bonus now.
House
and
money.
I gotta be honest, I was hating that Edinburgh season. So getting The Daily Show was like, oh, I think I'm gonna come back here.
So to go back to 10 years in Singapore, that was basically all of high school.
Yes.
And were you guys a family that ever went on a big trip, or were your big trips just like the massive moves?
You're still trying to get me out to the
I was just trying. Josh likes it.
No, I'm
everybody likes it.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but we didn't go on vacations.
Yeah,
we didn't go. We didn't go. I mean, we went for one vacation as a family, which was a cruise ship. Like we went on a cruise ship from Singapore to like Penang or something, which is like Malaysia. And we just hated it. So my family just does not travel well. So
what wasn't good about the cruise ship?
It was like being in a mall. Like you're trapped on the mall for 5 days or something. And I don't know. My family we just didn't like to take vacations together.
Do you think it was the cruise ship, or was it your company? Like, did you like spending time together?
No, we didn't. We didn't like spending time. Yeah. My family was like, we were like better when we're like apart. When we're apart, the messages are very loving and the emails are flowing and they talk about the love of each other and how nice it is. And Dad, what lessons can you teach me? What when you turned 40, how did you feel when anything I should know? when we were in the same room, it's like, oh my God, like what? We came in. So we just stopped. We didn't travel. We just stopped. But now as an adult, I'm taking my mom to travel with me sometimes. So she actually came to. I was on tour in Florida this year, and she actually came with me to Florida. Which my mom lives in Singapore, so for her to come over and be on tour is like to see my mom in Miami is like I don't know. It's so jarring to me because it's like two separate lives. But
did you have to convince her, or was she on board right away?
She was surprisingly on board, and she's not someone who gets on board with traveling, mainly because of the costs. And so she never wants me to spend money on her or anything. And so she's very stubborn with not traveling. But I think my father passing away made her more like, okay, I better come out. Otherwise, time is limited. So I brought her out to Florida, and she came on tour with me. And in my show, I talk about my dad a little bit, and then I bring my mama at the end. And she's like crying, and so like my tour manager had to like push her on stage. I was like calling, "Mom, my mom's here, everybody. My mom's never in America. You want to meet my mom? Hey, mom, they want to meet you." And she's like crying. She's kind of So So our family trips always end in tears. Is basically what the.
When your mom hits Miami, does she want to go shopping? Does she want new outfits, or does she have?
No. She hates spending money, so she's just like hanging out with me, and I'm trying to show her around America, and it's weird, like the food is so foreign to her, like Mexican food Cuban food is such a different world to her. She's not American like that at all. She's so used to like Singaporean food. So even getting her to eat like a quesadilla is like, she's like, what is this? What? But yeah, she's not used to it.
Would she like Chinese food in America, or would she think it was inauthentic?
She's okay with it. She's okay with it. Yeah, she's not like it's the best she could get, I think. So she'd be okay with it.
Better than a quesadilla.
Yeah, better than quesadilla. But she, like we lived here for, like I said, she went to school in New Hampshire, and we would go to Boston as our local Chinatown. So she's like down, you know what I mean? Yeah. She's down with it. But she's been away from America since 1993. So some things it's too different.
Has she visited you before the Florida trip? She must have come over.
Yeah. She came with my dad. That's the last time I saw my dad, actually, was when he came to New York City to visit me in 2017. And the only thing he wanted to do was, talk about a New Hampshire guy. He just went straight to a Dunkin' Donuts.
Great.
And that was the only thing he craved. He said, I just craved Dunkin' Donuts and a donut, like the coffee and the donuts. He went straight there. That was like his dream. His dream was to have Dunkin' Donuts and walk and go visit Wall Street. That was his thing. Can you imagine this guy?
That's so funny. I always talk about it. I think I've probably talked about it on the podcast. Literally, I remember the day Bedford, New Hampshire got its first Dunkin' Donuts as one of the like formative moments of my life.
Right.
Like the idea that we could stop, we would drive to high school, you could stop and get a Dunkin' Donuts on the way. And I was like, this is it. We have everything we'll ever want now.
And now as an adult, do I only realize and appreciate what a random place Manchester, New Hampshire is.
Totally.
When like as an adult in New York City, I'm like, oh, that is a pretty random place to go to and be from and live in,
Yeah.
So
have you gone back and done? You mentioned Southern New Hampshire University, which is the Burns.
Yeah.
That's the big theater there now. Have you done shows there?
Yeah, no, I have. I did a college in Manchester, New Hampshire, but not the University of Southern New Hampshire. It was another college, and I took the chance to go visit my old spots.
Yeah.
Because in my head, these spots, they live for like 30 years as memories in my head. Like I said, the park with the cannonballs and the cannon and the library and my old apartment building, and Webster Elementary School, and they just live. It's like a fog. And so when I got to go to New Hampshire to do a college gig, I took the special trip to go visit my old apartment building and just stand outside it and look at it. And it was like, I can't explain it. Like as someone who left unwillingly, and in my head, I always wanted to go back, and then to go back and see like the apartment building and like, oh, it's so much smaller than I remember.
Shocking,
everything is so shockingly small. right? It seemed so big at the time, and how it changed a little bit, but not that much. And the I guess American elementary school always has that weird like milk smell, and and
Did you go back to the Puritan back room?
I did. I went back there to eat,
All right.
and I discovered it was called the Puritan back room.
Yeah,
because my family we always called it the back room.
Yeah.
Was there any when you moved there? Was there a Malaysian? Was there a Chinese community in Manchester?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so no, it was us. There was like another family, Asian family, but they weren't from Malaysia. So it's just my sister and I in Webster Elementary.
And now we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors.
Hey, Bashi.
Hey, Sufi.
You know what you have that not a lot of people are lucky enough to have?
What's that?
A great head of hair.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And you know what? A great head of hair is not forever, and some of us, all of a sudden, we realize we got less of it. Well, the holidays may be over, but it's never too late to give yourself what you really want. Treat yourself with the IRestore Elite and get the hair regrowth solution you actually deserve. It's not a gadget, Pashi.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
No?
It's a powerful, FDA-cleared laser cap designed to fight thinning hair and hair loss with clinically proven results with 282 lasers and LEDs delivering light therapy to your scalp. It's like a spa day for your follicles. And let me just say, Pashi, laser cap, it's comfortable, easy to use. My favorite thing, scares the shit out of my kids when they see it on.
But then, I mean, it's going to make your kids be like, look at Dad. He's got a nice head of hair.
Finally, he looks like our Uncle Pashi. IRestore is so confident in their products, they offer a 12-month money-back guarantee so you can gift it risk-free. If their skin doesn't look healthier, you get a full refund, no awkward questions, just results or your money back.
Now's the perfect time to treat yourself. For a limited time only, our listeners get $625 off the IRestore Elite when you use code TRIPS at irestorelaser.com. That's $625 off your IRestore Elite at irestorelaser.com with promo code TRIPS. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to IRestore.
This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. It's time to fuel your inner adventure in the award-winning Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. So Josh, tell me about a recent time you connected with your inner adventurer.
Well, anytime it rains in LA, which isn't very often, I throw my gear on and I get out in it. And my dog Woody loves to get out there with me. And we'll start on a trail, on sort of a big fire road trail, but then we find those smaller trails where you need to crawl and get your hands dirty, and the wetter you get, the better you get. And yeah, that's what we like.
I love it.
What about you? Have you connected with your inner adventurer recently?
You know those squirrel suits where people jump off the sides of cliffs?
Oh, yeah.
I just watched a YouTube video of that. But it made my tummy feel weird.
Yeah. Careful. Don't watch too many of those. Whatever kind of adventurer you are, the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is ready for you. Thanks to its intelligent around view monitor with off-road mode, the Rogue Rock Creek helps brave adventurers like you and also Seth to navigate around narrow obstacles in tough terrain. Plus, with lava red stitching and Rock Creek embroidery, you're surrounded in style no matter where you go.
Up on Rogue Rock Creek, she sends me. Right?
Yeah, we don't have the rights.
We probably can't clear that.
Nope.
So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Intelligent around view monitor cannot eliminate blind spots and may not detect every object. Drivers should always turn and check surroundings before driving. See owner's manual for safety information. Hey, everybody. If you're listening to us, you like podcasts, and we want to talk to you about another podcast called Comedy Bang Bang, which is, as podcasts go, maybe maintained a high quality for longer than any other podcast I've ever listened to.
Yeah, a really fun, sort of unique take on a podcast format that lets you hear some of the world's best improvisers appearing on this show as fictional characters, sort of folded into an interview show. It's so unique, it's so fun, and the people on it are so good. It's people like Nick Kroll, Lauren Lapkus, Paul F. Tompkins, Ben Schwartz, classics.
And it's that great thing, which is it is an expanding universe of a podcast. The longer you listen, the more you feel at home with the in-jokes, with the callbacks. That's not to say you can't jump in anytime, but they have built a world that, in my mind, laps the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Agreed.
And as with all great podcasts, it has a consummate host. Scott Aukerman is a fantastic interviewer, and he is at the helm of this incredible show. So give it a listen. So check out new episodes of Comedy Bang Bang every Monday, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Here we go.
What did your parents think when you presented to them that comedy was the way you were going to trend?
I don't know. I didn't tell them. I just went to do it. I just went to go do it. This was in Australia. We were in separate countries. So I just graduated from law school, and then I just went to go do comedy. And I didn't tell them, and I felt like I didn't really want to tell anybody I was doing it. I just wanted to go do it. You know what I mean? I didn't make a big deal about it at the time. I wanted to kind of test to see if I could do it. Yeah.
Did they think you were getting a job as a lawyer, though, or were they like checking in?
Yeah, they checked in, and the this is my legal loophole was I was technically studying to pass the bar in Australia. Which was true. I just took my time to study for the bar. That's all.
Yeah. What made you go to Australia?
My sister was there at the time studying medicine, and Australia offered undergraduate law degrees. So it was kind of like a cheaper, easier way to get a law degree. And also it was nearer. It was nearer to Singapore than America, you know.
Did you go to the same school as your sister?
Yeah, I did. I did end up going to the same college, same University of Melbourne. Studied. We did law school there, and that was my chance to go to America after to go to college. But I didn't take it. I just went to Australia. Just a path of like least resistance, really.
Would you and your sister hang out at all? Would you grab like lunch once a week when you were there, or would you see each other?
Yeah, we lived together for a bit. Yeah, we lived together for quite a bit. Yeah, and then she graduated, and then she had to move to Sydney, like a different city. So, but we lived together when we were first there. That was the idea. Was that I should go to Australia because my sister's already there. And,
Do you think your sister, if she was here, would say you were a good roommate?
That's a great question. Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think she said I was great. Yeah. I don't think I was horrible, but I wasn't. I don't think she said I was great. That's a great question. I should ask her. I should ask her that.
Just trying to get on trips, maybe not family, but if you were, if you're going to college in Australia and then there's there's a break, there's a week break or whatever, would you go somewhere with friends? Would you travel around Australia, or would you just go home?
Oh yeah, I would go visit my parents in Singapore. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happened in Australia. I would in between for vacation, like university vacation, I would go back to Singapore. Yes.
Okay.
To
was it relatively inexpensive to fly from Australia to Singapore?
It wasn't. It was okay. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't. I mean, who am I kidding? Like it wasn't cheap, but it was something I could do at least once a year. To go back and visit them because it was a 7-hour flight.
Yeah.
So, it was international, but it was a 7-hour flight.
And would your parents ever come visit you guys in Australia when you were studying?
No, they just no. I told you they don't travel. I'm not, yeah, I'm so sorry. I wanted to do this podcast so badly, but I genuinely, we never went on family trips that were interesting.
But they wouldn't come for there wasn't a parents' weekend or something?
No, they wouldn't come.
I think that seems uniquely American, parents' weekend. That seems like such a American idea.
Yeah.
What about, you met your wife in Australia?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And what is her background?
If you want a family trip, she took me to Vietnam. How about that? She
took
me
to Vietnam. Is she from there?
She's Vietnamese, but she's from Australia. But her family's from Vietnam. So she took me to Vietnam, and it's weird. Vietnam is a Southeast Asian country. I'm from Southeast Asia, but I never once thought of Vietnam as a destination to go to. I can't explain it. Like it never crossed my mind until I met and married my wife, and she was like, "Hey, you should come Vietnam to visit. It's very cool." And so I was like, "Okay, I'm game." And so we went to Vietnam, and because she can speak Vietnamese, they were able to show me around. And so we went from north to south, and it was incredibly charming and amazing. I'm so glad I went. We went to Hanoi, Hoi An, Sapa Valley, Ha Long Bay, and then Saigon. We took a train down, and it was beautiful. Everyone's super friendly. The food was great. I proposed to my wife there.
Nice. So you knew before the trip, obviously, you were going to propose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. I asked for permission from my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and they said, "Yep, that's great." They were like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to do this." And then they freaking as soon as I left, they immediately called my wife to tell her that I was doing it, and Hannah, my wife, was like, "I don't think you should have told me that." Like they were telling, she told her mom, like, "I think it was supposed to be a secret." And
Did she then pretend not to know?
yes,
That's
the whole trip. She
That's a great
pretended not to
partner.
know.
That's a great
Yeah.
partner to do that. Yeah, she's like,
But
I'm not going to ruin it.
Yeah, she pretended not to know the whole trip, but then she kept like having these like stressful moments when she thought I was about to propose, but really I wasn't. I was just like, I literally was like, hey everybody, you guys gotta see this, and I'd be like showing them like a YouTube video, and she would tense up because she's like, oh, is it gonna be here right now? You know, so the whole trip she had these like adrenaline spikes that I didn't even know about.
When did she admit to you that she had known?
She told me after. You know, she told me after.
Gotcha.
She said, yeah, man, mom told me like weeks ago. I'm like, no,
Had you met her parents before the Vietnam trip?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I met, hung out with them, and we always got along. And they were actually surprisingly okay with, you know, this guy who was trying to do stand-up comedy and had, you know, no money and nothing, and they were okay with. I don't know. They were just okay with it. I don't know why her parents were so cool with it. To be honest,
your dad. So your dad passed away, but at that point you were successful in this career. Did he? But that's great. Like I'm glad he saw.
I don't know if I was successful. I was at the Daily Show.
You know, you're a guy who was doing stand-up. Did he get to see that it worked out? Was he proud of you?
I don't know.
Okay.
He passed away very suddenly, so I don't know.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I actually talk about this in the new special that's coming out in December. But I don't know. Ultimately, I'll never know how he actually felt. But he did come to New York, and he saw me at the Daily Show, and he there was a crew guy at the Daily Show who actually works at SNL now, and he said, he told my dad, like, man, your son is great, man. He's super funny. We all love him here. And that was what kind of convinced my dad that I was doing okay.
That's great.
The crew guys just, you know, like vouching for me was the best. And unprompted as well.
That's probably, I get that. I think a dad would recognize, like, when the blue collar guy says it, they're not the BS. They're not the BS guy. When the agent says it, you're like, this.
Yeah. When your son says it, you don't believe it.
Of course not. Your new special is Love to Hate It. It's your third? Is this your third Netflix special?
Yeah, third Netflix special. Yeah.
And you filmed in Honolulu, is that right?
Yeah, I filmed in Hawaii, and your name actually came up because Neil Brennan came afterwards, and he was just talking about you. He
Fantastic.
said, he said like Neil Brennan for some reason living in Hawaii now, and
that's right. I missed that connection. Yeah, he is living there. That's great.
Yeah, so I filmed it in Hawaii, and he came afterwards, and Neil is like, he's such a friendly guy, but he also can't turn off the writer's mind, so he's watching, you know, and I appreciate it, and so he's like, you know, giving me tips on stuff and all that, and but I'm already filming it, you know, at this point.
I know that's a Neil thing. He can't turn it off.
Yeah, but he's great.
He went up to somebody else. He told me recently, and a month after they'd filmed their special before he came out, and he's like, "You're gonna hate me, but I just came up with the best tag." I'm like, you don't have to tell him, Neil.
Yeah. But I appreciated him making the trip, and you know, he watches a lot of comedy, so
he does.
The fact that, like, him wanting to watch my set was like, I can't believe you still have energy for this. And he gave me some good tips that we managed to make some adjustments for the second show, which I always appreciate. Great. Yeah, filmed it in Hawaii. Probably I'm pretty happy with this one, you know, so hopefully people get behind it.
I'm very excited to see it. I've loved your previous specials. You have one of my favorite jokes that I think about all the time where you ask the audience.
Thank you.
On the count of three, everybody yell out there, which race is the worst? I'm paraphrasing it badly. It's a lot funnier when Ronny does it.
That's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
That would work. That delivery would work.
It's such a fucking funny bit.
And, thank you. That's very kind.
Also, I just had Jimmy on my show last night.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah.
The first episode of Interior Chinatown, fantastic.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. very very proud of it. It very sophisticated show, and hope people can get behind it a little bit because
Yeah,
it's-
it
it
looks
was-
so fun. I just watched the trailer this morning, and it just looks like,
Thank you.
Great.
wild.
It's on Hulu.
Well, yeah, well, as storytellers and professional TV people, I mean, I think you guys will appreciate it because it's meta commentary on television and the nature of storytelling. So the whole thing is a meta narrative. So it's
I'm
it's
very
people in a
happy-
TV show.
I'm
not
very
knowing that in a
happy
TV show.
anytime I see something that I know AI couldn't have written.
Uh,
You know what I mean? Where you're like, this
Yeah,
is great.
yeah.
This is completely
yeah.
unlike anything else. I also, I feel like I see you so, you're so clean cut on stage and so clean cut on The Daily Show that it was like a full like third scene where I was like, wait, is that Ronnie? Like
Oh,
in a
that's
really
great.
good way. Like you sort of, I was like, oh, he's also a really good actor because I didn't know it was him for the first couple scenes.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, I'm trying my best to hold my own with these other actors, and also I kind of really enjoy playing out of type a little bit, playing a character, and them trusting me to do it. So,
All right, we did some research, so I feel like we have at least one trip to ask you about, which is that you recently went to your dad's hometown. When was that?
Oh yeah, so that was who did you talk to about this?
We didn't
just
talk
do
to
our
anyone.
jobs.
They just
We do our job here.
Damn. Okay. I went to his hometown to settle some estate matters after he passed away, and there's some stuff in Malaysia where it's so old school you have to be present for it in pen and paper. So I had to go back to his hometown, which I kind of was trying to avoid doing for various reasons. But I got a lot of lovely family there, so that was nice. Seeing my family was nice. But it's a weird this Sitiawan in Malaysia. It's this very small town Malaysian village, and it was weird to organize the trip without him because he's usually the guy who picks the whole like what hotel we're staying, where we're gonna eat, and he does everything and who we're gonna go visit. And so I actually had to do it this time, and it was kind of like jarring to be like, oh yeah, he was the one who planned the itinerary. And so I got to pick the hotel. And so I was like looking for the best hotels in Sitiawan. And Sitiawan is known as a poor town, or at least not a very wealthy town. So whenever we went with my dad, we either stay at family's house or we stay in like a not so great motel. And so I just assumed there were no good hotels in the area. So when I Google Sitiawan hotels myself, organizing this for the first time, I found out there's like a 5-star resort like in the same neighborhood, like down the street. And I was like, why do we never find out about this place? And it just turns out that this guy, he just never wanted to spend the money to stay, which I get, like, but the narrative, I get not wanting to spend a bunch of money on a weekend trip with your family but the point is that they told us our whole lives, like, we're just farmers and we, just like, there's no running water here, and this, it's very like lower your expectations, stop being so spoiled. And meanwhile, there was like this goddamn like international 5-star resort just down the street.
So is that where you stayed?
No, I didn't stay. I didn't end up staying there because I could. In honor of my dad, I was like, I can't stay here. Like
That's like parents telling kids, like, there's nothing to do in Orlando.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
This is this is like
That's
this
exactly
office
what it
buildings.
was.
Yeah.
So shout out that resort in Sitiawan. If you ever go to Sitiawan, you can go visit this very 5-star resort. It's like it's kind of it looks beautiful. I wish I could go.
I just like that with the theme is that when your parents had something they just didn't want to tell you, they just didn't tell
Yeah, yeah.
you. We're like, what's the easiest way to break it to them? Just never
Look at
ever tell them.
this. Yeah, relationship of lies. These
Yeah.
parents. I don't know why they never told me. I think they thought I couldn't handle it. Right? They thought I would kick up a fuss, which I probably would not be able to handle. To be honest, if they told me I was leaving America forever, I'd be like, oh man.
And so you got back together with a bunch of extended family on that trip with your back to your father's hometown?
Yeah, we did. I had to handle some legal matters, which is always more emotional than you think, right? Because you're kind of like signing off your dad's stuff. You're like closing some loops in his life.
Yeah.
And then I got to see extended family, and my extended family always comes out to come and see me. You know, they're literally farmers, and they'll come out and we'll go for lunch together. You know, we'll have to rent out like 3 tables at a restaurant because everyone will show up. Because I got like tons of family there. Like literally, my grandmother had like 150 descendants.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, she had like 11 kids, and her first kid had like 9 kids, and so that everyone is there. It's like a good old, you know, Irish family, I guess. They just
That's fantastic.
Kept reproducing, and so that when I'm there, it's like, man, everyone comes out, and I always appreciate, you know, they're always very nice. And
Dude,
you know,
are they impressed that you're the cousin who sort of made a name for himself?
Oh, I don't know if they are. I mean, that's kind of for them. I do know my aunts and uncles are always very always very happy to see me, always very nice to me. And I think they know I do something in America, but they don't really fully get what it is. And you know, I'm glad that, you know, they like
don't have. So you're saying they don't have Paramount Plus?
Well, once they do, they'll probably say, "Hey, why don't you get 3 tables over at this 5-star resort?"
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, you got to keep it quiet. If they find out how well you've done, you're going to be at that resort next time for sure.
No, they're very nice, and I always love to see them.
Awesome. All right, this has been wonderful, Ronny. Thank you so much for your time, buddy, and congratulations on the new special. Love to hate it.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for speaking to me. You know, you guys are comedy legends. So thanks so much.
Buddy.
I've been watching you guys forever.
Josh has some questions for you before you go.
Oh, please.
All right. You can only pick one of these. Is your ideal vacation relaxing, adventurous, or educational?
Relaxing, adventurous, or educational. Relaxing.
What's your favorite means of transportation?
Walking.
Lovely.
Great.
If you could take a vacation with any family, obviously not your own family, real or fictional, they could be from history or from now, what family would you like to take a vacation with?
Oh, man, that's a good one. Man, is it weird to want to travel with, yeah, man, that's a good one. Is it weird to say I want to travel with the Kennedys?
Nope.
Is that weird?
No.
Maybe the Kennedys.
Yeah,
really good answer.
As long as you're not around for one of the tragedies, it's probably pretty nice. If you had to be stranded on a desert island with one member of your family, who would it be?
Oh, can I pick my wife?
Yeah. Okay. That's
yeah.
totally fair.
Good pick. It's a good, safe pick.
Yeah.
Although I hate for her to be stranded with me, but yeah. I'm sorry, I got it, yeah.
She's like, don't pick me.
Yeah, don't pick me.
What do you consider your hometown?
Oh, man. I feel, man.
You're all over the
That's
map.
it. Yeah, I feel at home everywhere. I feel at home everywhere.
But you were born in Johor Bahru, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you recommend Johor Bahru as a vacation destination?
No, do not. I love Johor Bahru. Not a vacation destination.
Okay.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah,
no problem.
And Seth has our final questions.
Have you been to the Grand Canyon, Ronny?
Yes, I have.
Did you really? Did you like
Yeah.
it? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I loved it. It was worth it. I didn't go down into it. My wife actually spent a few days going down into the canyon. I just only walked up to the edge and I saw it. It was great. I recommend it. I took a bus from Vegas, I think. And is that right? Yeah. And surprisingly, no safety guardrails.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you could just fall in and die if you.
Yeah.
Too big for guardrails. That's what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's an element of danger, which I think makes it cool, but truly beautiful and make you appreciate a desert vista, which sometimes can be a bit underrated. And natural beauty, it's Why are you asking?
That's our closing question to everybody.
Okay, cool.
That's the most. We feel like it's the most American family trip destination. So we're gonna put
that's
you.
Why.
We're gonna mark you
in
in the yes column.
Yeah.
And on our 100th show, we're gonna do the score of what the Grand Canyon.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, Ronny.
Thank you,
Have
Ronny.
a great day. Keep it up.
No problem.
Lovely talking to a fellow person who lived in Manchester.
Thank you. Thanks for speaking to me, guys.
Bye,
Thanks for taking the time.
See you, pal.
Bye.